Hey guys, and welcome back to Steampunks, a GameSpot's PC-focused show where we talk about all things PC. This week we are talking about the best old games that you can get from GOG.com, which we reckon still hold up.
Well, my first game is pretty old, and it is actually the first game I ever played on PC. And that is Quest for Glory. So on GOG, you can get the Quest for Glory collection, which is Quest for Glory 1 to 5. The first one was released in 1989. So this is a adventure game / RPG hybrid from Sierra. You start off as an unknown hero walking into the town of Spielberg. Your adventures will take you from the first game to a whole new land in the second game, and again in the third and the fourth and the fifth. Fifth one's not so great, don't play that one. Those settings are just so good because they are in places that don't get covered a lot in games. So yeah, the first one is in a medieval England style town. Second one is in an Arabian Nights style city. Number 3 is set in the African savannah, which is amazing because then you have to learn how to like camp and shit. And fourth is in like a medieval Russian vampire town, which is my favorite out of all of them. And you'll like be questing, helping people out in adventure game fashion, but you'll also have a very, very detailed RPG stat sheet. You can be a fighter, a wizard, or a thief. The points that you put into these abilities will obviously inform the skills you have access to, how good you are at interacting with people and things, and how good you are in combat, and what skills you can use in combat. At the end of the day, Quest for Glory just has so many memorable characters, so many like mechanics that hold up well, and it's a very replayable series because you can go through the entire series again and again with different classes, different builds, different ways of approaching situations and problems, and I feel like there's always something new to discover.
So my games are a tad more recent, being that I am a little younger than you, but one of the fondest memories I have from my childhood in a game that I still engage with today is that intro music from Roller Coaster Tycoon. It does really well at a bunch of different things, but you can engage with it how you want to. So if you want to customize the crap out of everything, you can. If you want to be that hardcore gamer that is looking to unlock level after level that just get more and more difficult with the challenge going up, but it also catered really well to kids who just wanted to make their dream park with their dream attractions and stuff. The sound effects are brilliant, the music is brilliant. You get thrown into maps that have different restrictions, places that are like redone like water parks, but they're completely failing, and being able to take a scenario like that and turn it into a thriving theme park is like consistently satisfying. R&D was a really fun part of that game, researching new rides, new attractions, and the other part that was really fun was just waiting till it rained and hiking up the price of umbrellas.
I'm old enough to appreciate theme park, but I appreciate that Roller Coaster Tycoon took sim games and moved it into the modern era with a whole bunch of more advanced customizations in terms of your roller coaster creation, all that kind of stuff. Well, my second GOG pick is slightly more recent, but still older than yours, which is, you know, fine. This one is The Last Express. It's an adventure game by Jordan Mechner, who is famous for creating Prince of Persia. And The Last Express was kind of his like, I'm gonna throw all my money into this, and you know, this is gonna be the blockbuster of 1996. It wasn't a blockbuster. It didn't do so well, but it is still an amazing game with an incredible concept. You're an American detective on a train called the Orient Express, obviously, that goes across Europe. And it's an adventure game where you discover a murder and you kind of have to work out who on the train did it. And it's got that Murder on the Orient Express sort of mystery of like, you know everyone's very intimately connected. There's a mechanic whereby you can rewind time using a Fabergé egg, so you can go to different parts of the train at different times of the day or night because time just continually runs. Eavesdrop on different conversations and like discover new actions. It's kind of like peeling back the layers of an interactive play or something like that. If you've played Tacoma, that game kind of takes a lot of its inspiration from games like The Last Express. It was also notable at the time for using a very expensive form of animation called rotoscoping, which you might have seen in films like A Scanner Darkly. It looks really janky and cheap by today's standards, but at the time it was pretty amazing. But even so, the mechanics of The Last Express and the adventure of it still holds up. And it's a style of adventure game that not a lot of people do these days. So that's why it's still unique, and that's why I kind of like going back to play it once in a while.
I was really stuck between which of these games to choose. I'm a big fan of Might and Magic 8, Day of the Destroyer, but I just couldn't imagine this episode going up with the best old games that you can still pick up on GOG that are great today without mentioning Heroes of Might and Magic 3, Complete Edition, which you can pick up on GOG. So this game came out in 1999, and I really honestly feel like there's not really anything like it. It is such a standout example of a strategy game that just has so much content packed in. I feel like they don't make games like this anymore. There's sprawling, massive campaigns that will take you hours and hours, dozens of hours, dozens of multiplayer maps, which you can play with a friend or you can just play against AI. Me and my brother would play hot seat, swapping back and forth each turn. The game lets you pick between a ton of different factions, which are all so fascinatingly distinct. They've all got their own heroes that only occur within that faction. They all have their own creature types, creature buildings, town design, music that comes with that specific faction that you won't hear if you're playing any other faction. And all feel so vastly different to play that even if you were taking on the same map with a different faction, it's a whole new experience. The game really rewards exploration. It rewards timing. So you play this game from day to day, you can only move a certain amount for the day. So you need to balance what resources you need to collect, what combat encounters you can afford to take on without losing too many troops. The game also rewards careful planning, hero building. Your heroes have levels and can be created in a multitude of different ways. You have your might heroes and your magic heroes. There are tons of spells that you can either use or not, artifacts to equip them with. This game is so good, and it's really interesting because I don't feel like even the developers themselves ever made a Heroes game that is as good as Heroes of Might and Magic 3.
I just wanted to do a quick shout out to Fallout 1, which you can also get on GOG, 1997. Fallout 1 is still the best Fallout game, and as Fallout 76 comes in and is a multiplayer experience, you need to remember what the roots of Fallout are, and that's a hardcore computer RPG on an isometric grid with great turn-based combat and the ability to just talk to everyone and complete the whole game without shooting a bullet.
While we're having an aside, if you've only heard of Siberia because of the third game that came out, or Sacred because of I think it might have also been the third game that came out a couple of years ago, both those really bad. The early games, the early Sacred and Siberia games, also on GOG, also really good. So after all that positivity for old games, let's talk about how much everybody still hates loot boxes and microtransactions, which is totally fair. And you guys definitely left your comments to that effect last week.
All right, so Philip Tyndall on YouTube said that my justification for loot boxes feeling really, really good to open are exactly the reason why they're being outlawed. They're basically the video game version of gambling slot machines, which I completely agree with. That's completely fine.
Yeah.
But obviously, you do kind of need to be aware of that yourself.
Yeah.
I guess I am, as a responsible adult.
Which is exactly, I think, why there's been a lot of uproar about how loot boxes are affecting kids. People like kids, like teenagers, who may not be in a place where they can be fiscally responsible and make their own choice what they want to do with their money, are being directly marketed to. And I do agree that that's where we run into a problem. On site, user Snuggles Prime said, "I'm fine with loot boxes, not keys, in free-to-play games. A lot of free-to-play games need to rely on RNG, I feel, to maintain profits, or else there's a chance they could go pay to win, which no one wants. I feel like microtransactions, not loot boxes, in paid multiplayer games are fine as well, if they promise to continue to update the game with the funds they get from those microtransactions. Like Rainbow Six Siege is a game that they planned to only support for a year, but people began playing it and supporting it. I think Rainbow Six Siege is a really good example.
Yeah, it's probably one of the best examples. Yeah, it's crazy to think that it came out like 5 years ago or something crazy like that, and it's still going. The esports scene is very active, and the new updates are coming thick and fast, and they are interesting. And good on Ubisoft for, who have been kind of like one of the main perpetrators of bad microtransaction habits, buying a treasure map to see all the treasure in Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I think microtransactions are easier to digest than loot boxes as well, because you want horse armor, you're straight up saying you're paying $5 for horse armor and exactly what that armor looks like. So I feel like that's also a more honest and digestible way to get people to keep putting money into your game than the invisible prize pack of whatever. That is everything we've got for you guys this week. Do let us know what your favorite old games are that still hold up now, and we will see you again next week.
Bye.